We have found in our studies of how law enforcement in Wisconsin is cooperating with ICE is there are two main ways. One way is sharing information with ICE, and we see that ICE is actually buying data on immigrants who are held in jails across the state. And then the other way that law enforcement agencies are helping ICE is by providing ways for ICE to detain immigrants who are in their counties. And so we studied the practices of the sheriffs all across the state and found an increasing amount of cooperation with ICE, and that ICE is now funding some of that cooperation in different ways. Waukesha County was the first in 2018, and then another group joined in 2020. But then this year, we've seen 6 more counties, including one just 2 weeks ago in Calumet County signed another partnership agreement with ICE that we call 287G agreements. These agreements that are sort of partnership agreements between ICE and a local sheriff's department, they send a message to the sheriff's deputies that immigration enforcement is part of what we do in this county. That's a dangerous message to send, and it creates fear in the immigrant communities in those counties, discourages people from cooperating with local law enforcement, and it helps fuel the deportation machine.
Tell us about the funds, the money involved on the different parts of these processes.
One program that's called the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, we just call it SCAP, is a program where if a jail holds an undocumented person after they have been convicted of 2 misdemeanors or a felony, then the Justice Department reimburses the jail for the cost of incarcerating that person. But it's more than that. It's buying information about, here's an undocumented person who's been held in jail, here's their last known address, here's what they look like, here's where they can be found. So that's one way that ICE is buying information from jails about undocumented people. The other financial incentive we have found is that there are county jails that are now renting out cell space to ICE to detain persons who are in the process of being deported, who've been picked up by ICE and are being held. Brown County has one of these agreements, Sauk County has an agreement, and then Dodge County has long been an immigration detention center in the state. We call it the jail to deportation pipeline because that has been the main way that persons in Wisconsin might end up being deported traditionally, is some contact with the criminal justice system in the state. The statistics that have been released from ICE through different organizations making Freedom of Information Act requests have shown that, in fact, the majority of people who have been arrested by ICE during the second Trump administration have not been people with criminal records, or people get picked up out of jails while their cases are still pending. So they've been arrested, but they haven't been convicted of anything yet. And yet ICE will pick them up out of jails and deport before they've even had a chance, potentially, to prove their innocence.
What is the picture that the ACLU wants communities to see in this report?
Very often, these partnerships between ICE and local sheriffs are done in secrecy without public oversight. A sheriff will enter into these agreements and not tell the public about it. And one of the things we've been working on over the last 8, 9, 10 years at the ACLU of Wisconsin is shining a light on these partnerships between local law enforcement agencies and ICE so that citizens can say to their local sheriffs, who they elect, and to the county board, who's in charge of the sheriff's budget, for example, we don't want this kind of cooperation with ICE. And so each one of these agreements it's county by county. It's very local, and we encourage people to find out what is the practice of your local sheriff. How is he or she cooperating with ICE? One example, which is there's a process of what we call detainers. A detainer is a voluntary request from immigration enforcement to a jail, and ICE says, hold on to that person for an extra 2 days or longer while we come and pick them up. That practice, we believe at the ACLU of Wisconsin, is illegal for a sheriff to honor what is a purely voluntary request from ICE.
There is always the threat of retaliation by the federal administrations against these sheriff offices that are making the Constitution rights to be in front. So have you seen on that?
Current administration believes that people who know their rights, people who insist on their rights, are getting in the way of their project to remove, hundreds of thousands or millions of people from the country. And so they're doing things like threatening counties with a loss of federal funds for all sorts of purposes unrelated to immigration if they don't roll over and do what ICE wants them to do. Our organization at the ACLU of Wisconsin, or like Voces de la Frontera, are fighting, and we back and support those local governments who are saying of our community that we stand up for the right. Everybody has rights, citizens, non-citizens, documented, undocumented. They all have rights, and we need to respect them regardless of what the person in power in Washington may be saying. One of the most important things that gets done is helping people know what their rights are. Very often, I see examples of people who don't know that they have the right to remain silent. And very often it is the person who says, yes, I have no papers. Yes, I am undocumented. That then gives them a reason to arrest you, that if you had simply never answered the question. So one of our main efforts is educating the undocumented people. And then we also try to educate the allies.
How can people know more, Tim, about this report in the ACLU?
So people can go to our website at aclu-wi.org. There is also an inquiry form on our website that if you have questions, you can submit questions through there. You go to that website, and there are certainly places that ask, are you interested in volunteering? All help is gratefully accepted.
Tim, we are very thankful for the crucial information that you continue providing for our communities.
Thank you for inviting me again and for elevating this issue for all of your viewers.